All right, so we are back in the water and it feels so good, man. I mean, the boatyard was great for getting work done, but I mean, it kind of wears on you after a while. And so we are very, very happy to be back out on the water again. Now, we've done a lot of work to the boat in the last couple weeks or months even, and we've got a lot left to do. And hurricane season is coming up quick. We don't have a whole lot of time to do this in, and so we're gonna be really pushing to make sure that this boat is seaworthy by the time we leave here.
I'm Desiree, and this is my husband, Jordan. We're sailing around the world, or at least trying to. We made it as far as Panama on our first boat, Atticus I, which was a really small fixer-upper. Now we're on our dream sailboat, Atticus II, but she needs some work before she's ready to cross oceans.
All right, so we are out of the boatyard and back in the water. And the question that you may be asking yourself is, what the heck are we gonna do next? So we know you're gonna be excited about this, so hold on, sit down, take a seat, take a deep breath. We've got more projects to do. I know. Try to contain your enthusiasm. That said, we are quickly approaching hurricane season here on the east coast of the United States. We've got 2 months to finish all of our projects and get the boat somewhere that is safe from hurricanes. And a lot of my goal was to find what we could do this summer where we could be sailing with the wind and still get to cruise during the summer and be safe away from hurricanes. So our plan initially was to sail south to the Caribbean, but we would have to book it all the way to Panama, like non-stop, doing some windward sailing, not get to really explore anything, and then we'd have to spend hurricane season in Panama. We've already spent a year and a half in Panama, and we'd really like to explore a new place. And the main thing I came up with was doing an Atlantic crossing. So the way that sailing across the Atlantic generally works is you've got the mid-Atlantic high right here, or the Azores high. And that high forces wind to spin in sort of a clockwise direction. And what we could do is sail from North Carolina to Bermuda, and then from Bermuda clockwise around that high to the Azores here, and then get to experience the Azores, the Canary Islands, and the Cape Verde Islands during the summer. And that's a lot of really cool cruising, a lot of cool stuff to do. You can see we're following that high around, so we're still going with the wind as opposed to against it. And then from the Cape Verde Islands, we're basically a nice tropical downwind sail all the way to the Eastern Caribbean. Now, it's a lot of sailing, and let's face it, crossing the Atlantic is a really big deal, and it's kind of scary. And so we want to make sure that Atticus II is 100% ready for a challenge like that. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in the weeks to come. All right, so the first step today is going to be to get the boom back up. With the new bimini, we've kind of got to get the height of the end of the boom just right before we kind of set it all in place. Now, so far, I really do like how a lot of the control lines lead from the boom to the cockpit, but it does make for a lot of lines running across the cabin top. Okay. Whew. So, that is our new mainsail. Yeah, you like it, bud? And you may remember that we ended up getting a new mainsail because the original sail was designed to have the boom really, really low, to the point where I could basically kiss the end of the boom when I was at the helm. And that's kind of a safety issue, first of all. If we were accidentally going to jibe and I was simply standing in the cockpit, same with Desiree, then the boom could hit us in the head, and I mean, that really could kill us. It's super dangerous. The other issue with it is the boom was too low for us to have a bimini, so we wouldn't be able to have any permanent shade or shelter in the cockpit. And so we decided to just raise up the angle of the boom a little bit, and to do that, we just needed to have a mainsail with a slightly different shape. So I've got to bend on this main. So basically, these are the little slides that help the mainsail go up and down the track. And these came from the old main, and I'm gonna reuse these and attach them to the new sail. I gotta say, I do love the feeling of crisp new Dacron. It looks good, it feels good, but it can be pretty difficult to flake and fold new Dacron. And I had a bit of a hard time with it here. Hey, are you excited about this? I got the roll of battens in with the sails, and I gotta put it on the main. They're under a huge amount of tension, and so I've already taken off like 100 zip ties, and I've only got a couple left. There's a good chance I'm gonna get slapped in the face right now. Oh, oh. Okay. Hey, there you go. That's how you do it. Like a pro. Go. Can you try to pull that part of the sail that way? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. All right, so next, I'm gonna be going up the mast to take care of a handful of things that still need to be done to kind of finalize the fact that the mast is back up. So we've got to put up the inner forestay and the furler for the stay sail. You may remember that ended up being a little bit longer than we wanted it to be. So we're gonna find out if we need to modify that or not. Today, we're gonna try things a little bit different. Desiree is going to haul me up on the main halyard. And then as a safety, I'm gonna use this cam that I used last time, but just the top one. As I'm going up, I can move it up the line, but then if something were to fail, this would catch me. And this is just on a second halyard that's up there. Okay, yeah, so that turned out to be 80 degrees. We want these spreaders to have basically a 10-degree angle based on some drawings that I got from Pacific Seacraft. One thing I had to do while I was aloft was put on the spreader boots, which are basically just pieces of leather that completely cover the ends of the spreaders so that the sails don't chafe on them. So there is a lot of bend in that inner forestay. Like, it is super loose. So I can tighten it up a little bit with the rigging screw inside of the drum, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to tighten it up that much. We'll see. Also, we discussed a few episodes ago the new Dyneema running backstays that we're gonna order from Caligo Marine. And I wanted to make sure I got an accurate measurement of exactly how long those running backs need to be before we put in our order. Now, you may remember that before we pulled the mast, we actually removed all of the aerials at the top of the mast. So for instance, the electronic wind indicator, the Windex, the VHF antenna. Now, we did this so that the crane wouldn't damage those aerials when we pulled the mast. And so one by one, Desiree tied each aerial to a string, I pulled them up and installed them. Yeah, I came out of the sky.
Where were you, bro?
I came out of the sky. Kiss? Yeah, good boy. All right, so we got Rodney from Allison Sails and Canvas here, and he is going to be doing some measurements for our Carolina Cradle. Rodney, what kind of makes your Carolina Cradle unique?
The workmanship that goes into it, the materials. I try to use the best stuff. In fact, I brought a sample of the zipper I use here. I use a number 15 zipper, which you can see is pretty substantial.
Oh, yeah.
This is the slider.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow, look at that.
So, yeah.
And a Carolina Cradle, just as a reminder, is basically a sail cradle. So it allows us to douse the sail very quickly. It'll help the sail self-stow into a little bag that can be zipped up, and relatively quickly the sail is protected from UV.
You gonna help? Yeah, you gonna help measure?
He's hired.
I love you.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, we're super pumped. Okay, well, today we are going to be installing some antennas. I'm going to start with our GPS antenna, and I'm going to mount it to the rail using one of these sleek Edson rail antenna mounts. Now, I don't actually have everything that I need to crimp on the connector fittings to the end of this RG58 cable, but I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it to length and then install the antenna anyway. I should have everything that I need by next week to put those connectors on and fully install this antenna. Now, whereas the other two antennas extended up away from the solar panels before they sort of branched out, the Iridium Go antenna didn't really have any extension before it got wide, and so the solar panel, once installed, would actually contact the antenna. So my solution was to design an extension plate and send that drawing off to Mike at Pacific Seacraft to see if he could fabricate something for us. And so to real quick go over what the purpose of these antennas are, first we've got our Iridium Go antenna, which is our satellite communication device that allows us to download weather information from Predict Wind, as well as to send messages and make phone calls, all while we're either offshore or really remote and far away from civilization. Next, we've got our GPS antenna, which basically just gives our navigation devices on board a really accurate reading of our GPS position. And finally, we've got our cellular booster antenna, which allows us to have good cellular data signal even when we're far away from cell towers. So my next step was to finish wiring each individual antenna, starting with the GPS antenna. First, I had to splice on a new connector to the end of the NMEA 2000 cable, which was a fairly difficult process. The wires inside the cable are super small and hard to handle, but also I've never opened up a cable meant to transmit data before, and I was pretty intimidated and concerned that I'd screw it up somehow. Oh, okay. All right, so now we're getting absolutely no data. I guess I'll try to disconnect the wire I just put on, and if disconnecting it makes things work again, then I'll know that it's my wiring. All right, well, good news. When I disconnected that N2K cable from the backbone, I got a little bit of data back. I got depth, I got apparent wind angle, and I'm still missing a whole lot, but I think what I'm missing is basically the data that requires like a GPS position and a GPS heading and a GPS speed. Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch a video on how to like connect these connectors and see if I can do it in the morning, because I'm done.
All right, I am so happy to be out of the boatyard, and being smack dab in the middle of downtown Washington is so cool because the weather has been getting so nice. And so this little pedestrian street here has been just like covered in dogs and kids and families walking around. It's just really cool to be a part of such a neat little community.
All right, so I was able to calm myself down a little bit, had a couple beers. My brain is reset overnight. I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling like there's a way through this. I did a bunch of research on these connectors, and I found a really useful page that showed me that I had made basically two mistakes. Now, first off, I knew that I needed to attach the 4 primary wires inside the cable to the terminals on the connector. I also knew that there was a 5th terminal for the shield. So I took the shield braid and shield drain wire and twisted them together and put them into that terminal. But that made for a really messy job, and what I should have done was cut away the shield braid and use just the shield drain wire to connect to the shield terminal. But the core reason that our NMEA 2000 network stopped working was because if the shield wire contacts the metal part of any of the other wires, that'll create a short in the system and the whole system will just shut down. So what I learned is the best way to avoid this is to actually insulate the shield drain wire. So I cut a small piece of very small heat shrink tubing, put it over the majority of the shield wire, and left just enough exposed to connect it to the terminal in the connector. According to the instructions, I think I did everything right, so I'm gonna plug this in and see how it goes. Yes, that's good news. Yes! We're getting wind information, we're getting depth. Oh, look at that, look at that. Lots of info. I actually did something. Now I know a whole lot more about NMEA 2000 networking and cables and, whoa, okay. On to the next thing. Okay, so now that I've been doing a bunch of NMEA 2000 stuff, I'm going to install something that I've been super pumped about for a long time, and that is this Navlink II. It's basically just like a Wi-Fi connection point so that I can access all of the data that's on the NMEA 2000 network. Okay, so I got the thing set up, and I mean, basically all I need to do is I hook up to the Wi-Fi connection that it offers and then shoot over to Navionics. So we can see a lot of really cool information now that we're connected to that thing. So up at the top, you've got depth. So right now we're reading 14.4 feet. What's really cool is if you zoom in next to where we are, it actually creates little soundings. So it'll show like what the depths are as we move around. So if we were moving, it would leave little like numbers in our trail, kind of like making our own little survey of the bottom, which will come in huge handy when we're trying to figure out like the best place to anchor in an anchorage, for instance. And also now our Navionics is hooked up to our GPS antenna that's on the top of the arch. And so we're getting really high quality GPS position data now. We can also see AIS targets on here. So there's not many around here, but there's one way over here. But that's an example of, you know, how we would see other vessels that have AIS. So the point is that like this sort of thing is super helpful, whether it be because we want to access information while we're off watch and down below and we don't want to like put our jackets on and go outside. Just having all that information at our fingertips, I think, is going to be a huge help.
Cigar for you.
Oh.
Cigar for me. We are celebrating 1 year of owning Atticus II. Just flew by, didn't it?
Yeah, a lot more boat work than I guess we thought we were gonna do, but
yeah.
At the same time, like most of the work we've done has been for improving the boat.
Yeah,
you know.
I think he likes the cork. You want
yeah,
the
give
cork?
it to him.
You want the cork?
He might get a little drunk off of it.
Yeah, all the cool dogs do it.
Hard day. Get over here.
Also, a big thank you to one of our patrons for giving us this gorgeous bottle of champagne.
Cheers, buddy. To a year living on this bad boy.
And many more to come.
Another revolution around the sun. Around.
What would you tell Jordan from 1 year ago? Don't do the chain plates. I would tell myself to really just try to enjoy the United States, because pretty soon we're going to get out of here and probably have another long stint away from being so close to our family and friends.
It's cool to get to know your own country like that, you know? Not just like read about it, not just talk to people about it, but to live it has been really neat.
I think we made a lot of progress in this last year. Look at this.
You did do pretty much all of it.
I did everything you lay your eyes on.
Yeah, this is all you.
Everything that the light touches, one day it will be yours.
Hey,
Cheers.
Un año.
Un año contigo.
Con oso y con el barco de nuestro sueños.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're ready?
Spanish.
Yes.
Check.
You are,
what's the next language?
You are ready for Mexico.
Now that I was finished wiring the GPS antenna, it was time to move on to the Iridium Go antenna. And to start, I've actually got to drill another hole from the portside cockpit locker into this propane locker here because this cable won't fit through the existing holes. I literally inserted this thing like 10 seconds ago, and now it's stuck. Well, that hook sucked anyway. Let's try that again. Let's do it better this time. It's definitely not right here. Well, I could try to do it from this side. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I'm using this new material. It's like a Chinese finger trap. In fact, it quite literally is kind of like a Chinese finger trap. And so I'm gonna use that so that I don't have to tape the cables to the string, basically.
Okay, ready? I'm pulling, you pull, I'm pulling, you pull. Stuck again.
Let's try this. Okay, now go ahead and pull, not too hard though. Oh, okay, hold. Oh my gosh. I think you did it.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Okay, keep going. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, pulling. Oh yeah, it's coming nicely. This stuff is freaking genius.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I think we got it.
Yeah.
We did it. Okay, keep pulling. Yes! I can't believe we did it. Yeah. Woo! We actually pulled that thing through. I can't believe it. Now we can wire up the Iridium Go like it's permanent install. That's gonna be sweet. It takes a lot of time to do this stuff, but we're getting there slowly. We're eating the elephant, right? Who was it that gave me that analogy?
I have never heard that analogy before.
So the analogy is there's only one way to eat an elephant, and that's one bite at a time.
That's not true.
How is that not true?
You could get the elephant, make an elephant smoothie out of it, and then you could drink it.
Okay, you're right. There's two ways to eat an elephant. Thank you for clarifying
You're
that,
welcome.
but